Okay, and we're back, ladies and gents, straight into the draft here. Glaive, Onyx on the blue side here, and we've got Gamers for God on the red side. A bit of a switch up, and once again, we're back with JVL here to walk us through the picks and bans. So far, nothing too shocking. Cho'Gath once again for Gamers for God, and Glaive, they're still going with the tried and true Renekton Gwen.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's going to be the Camille third ban as well for Glaive again. I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, so... I really hope, though, Gamers for God do end up banning the Nocturne away here in first rotation. Like I already mentioned, really just not a balanced champion that we can be letting through in draft this patch. So pretty similar ban so far, and they're going to keep the Nocturne up and...
Ban Ezreal. That's interesting because Josh did well on the Ezreal, and now the other one's banning it. Nocturne, unfortunately, not banned. Gangplank, not banned. Galio, not banned. JVL, they're not taking your advice. And Glaive here. Okay, I was going to ask, do you think they just go, they do the salty run back, or do they try and change things up? Either they went with the Nocturne straight away.
I mean, you're just giving Glaive Nocturne again. Maybe you say, okay, maybe Xin Zhao is their answer that they think can work out for them. Maybe a couple patches ago as well, you would see the Ezreal being prio banned over the Nocturne when Sunder was really at its peak with the Ezreal, but it's been toned down a little bit. And although Ezreal is still really like S tier with the Sunder, you can also go other things like Triforce now, and there are answers to the Ezreal. So, I mean, unfortunately for Gamers for God, Nocturne going to get picked up for Glaive again. And actually, Xin Zhao not even locked in. They're going to go with Thresh here.
Yeah, they still have a second pick, though, and I agree with you. I think you want to lock in some sort of really strong early game power pick that can make something happen. The Diana took a little bit too long to come online, I feel like, and didn't necessarily have the greatest impact.
Oh,
they're not doing this. They're not. No. What? Oh, okay. No.
I mean, hey, maybe this is their answer. Maybe they just say, you know what, we're going to take the Gangplank really early, and we're comfortable on just putting Saucy up on the Gangplank top lane. They still do have the option to pick up something like the Xin Zhao third before the second rotation of bans, but really, really interesting draft so far here at game 2.
Yeah, and I mean, Glaive could actually potentially pick Xin Zhao themselves. Nocturne, I know you said that Nocturne's a healing sustain nerf, didn't hit him that hard. Do you think he's still a viable laner, or you think he's just jungle only now?
Yeah, I think in the correct matchup, where you're not getting extreme, like the enemy laner isn't going to poke you down extremely hard or harass you a lot, then you can completely just sustain still in lane with the Nocturne. Rumble being picked up is actually really exciting. Rumble is really, really underrated in solo lanes, top and mid. As soon as Rumble got nerfed in the jungle, we just stopped seeing Rumble altogether. Like, it seemed like every team was like, oh, okay, Rumble is just no longer a pick that we want to go for, but Rumble can definitely be a really good solo laner, and Xin Zhao looks like will actually be picked up third here.
I see that you are a follower of the freak school of thought here, JVL. Rumble in the solo lane said, hey, you know what? At least the stats bear you out there. For the side of Glaive, though, we see the side of Gamers for God, they've got the Thresh here, and usually, Thresh kind of signals that you want sort of a scaling, safer AD carry to pair alongside it. Glaive surprisingly didn't start with just like a double AD carry ban. I mean, Aphelios on the table, Jinx on the table as well. They just went straight for the Sylas, so that's interesting to me. I'm trying to recall, did they ban it in game 1? Yes, yeah. Glaive banned it as well. So, okay. I guess a lot of respect to Solo for this Sylas pick.
Yeah, Sylas still really, really strong. It hasn't really been touched the past few patches when he's been considered one of the best picks in the mid lane here. So still going to be banned away. And they actually, on the side of Gamers for God, are going to go with the Galio ban here in the second rotation. So I like to see that already, not giving the Nocturne Galio over again. Jado, obviously, super comfortable on the Galio. And it looks like it's going to be a Sivir pick. So last pick, counter pick will be for solo in the mid lane. And I'm hoping it's going to have to be AP just because of the comp. But I'm hoping we see something where he can really step up from game 1.
So JVL, you didn't respond at all pretty much to the Sivir pickup. And I'm actually a little surprised. I thought generally with Thresh, you want something, perhaps not as strong in lane, needing a bit more assistance in getting away. Sivir does not come to mind, and I understand that Sivir and Tavares is a fine matchup, but Sivir Thresh is a bot lane. Do you have any thoughts on that? Is it normal? Is it just me?
All I'm seeing is the Rel being picked up for Glaive, and now their comp is so scary. I'm sorry to just ignore the Sivir Thresh, but I'm thinking the team fight with Rel sucking everybody in, Rumble cooking them across the top, Nocturne and Varus following up, and Irelia actually being taken now for Glaive. So, hey, 2 Irelia games back to back. I can't really ask for much more.
JB, I can't wait for you to pull out the Irelia as well. And I love the fact that it's Puffle pulling up the Irelia in the exact same spot, B5. This is where Gamers for God picked it for Solo, and Solo got run over by the LeBlanc Nocturne combo. Now, Puffle is picking this up, but they've got the Nocturne on their side. They've got a potential Rumble. And Xerath? Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm a mid laner, but I'm not as good as you are, JV. And as far as I was aware, this is a horrific matchup for Xerath. Irelia just runs through your wave, reaches you, and once she's on top of you, and Xerath, you can't do a thing. Am I reading this wrong?
I really, really do not like this Xerath pick here for Gamers for God. Xerath can be extremely effective in certain comps, still even in this meta. But when you're against something like you already said, Irelia can so easily get onto you. Nocturne can so easily get onto you. Rumble can ult you from a mile away. So it doesn't matter how far you're standing back. There's so many ways for Glaive to get onto this Xerath. And I really, really favor Glaive's comp this game in game 2.
Okay, yeah, I think Glaive's composition is nice and straightforward, like you said. The fact that you've got Varus, Rel, and Rumble already, that's going to be a nightmare for any team that wants to team fight. And then Nocturne and Irelia's dive as well is so strong. I'm looking at Gamers for God now, and I'm trying to understand how their composition works. I'm seeing poke from Gangplank. I'm seeing poke from Xerath, Sivir as well. Let's say those bouncing blades as well as the ricochet. That's poke as well. And I'm starting to think maybe the Thresh wasn't for your lane. It's for your Xerath, right? Your Xerath out of position, you throw the Dark Passage, you get out, and suddenly I think it looks like they're running the On the Hunt as an escape method. You combine that with Cannon Barrage, with Xin Zhao's Crescent Guard as well, and it's actually not a bad poke composition.
I can see where you're going with that. Yeah, Gangplank, Sivir, Xerath all can stand fairly far away and poke. My only concern now is we're picking the Xin Zhao instead of the Diana, where Diana would have just been infinitely better with this comp, because what lane are you playing through with Xin Zhao now? You don't have an Irelia in the mid lane anymore. You're picking Xerath, Sivir, and Gangplank for your carries. There is no early game champions for you to play through as Xin Zhao. So now you're it's reversed from game 1, where you have the Diana with early game laners where you can't really help out your early game laners. And then now you have an early game jungler with scaling safe laners. And it's really just not meshing as well as I would like here for Gamers for God.
One thing I will say that I like is I think Dumpster as a ganking jungler didn't look too hot on the Diana. Xin Zhao, I'd rather have Dumpster be on the ganker with weak lanes than be on the weak jungler with strong lanes. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
Hopefully he can make something happen. We do have confirmation. It's Rumble versus Gangplank in the top lane. It's going to be Nocturne, Xin Zhao in the jungle, Irelia, Xerath in the mid lane, and the bot lanes as expected. Varus, Rel versus Sivir Thresh here. So the Gangplank, okay, not a strong top laner, but into the Rumble, you've got a bit of range, a bit of poke. Mid lane, Dumpster ain't going there. If you're there, you're trying to bail out Solo more than anything else.
Yeah.
Bot lane though, Sivir Thresh into Varus Rel. I feel like there is potential for Gamers for God to win this year. So in a situation where both junglers are looking at their bot lanes, in a 3v3 situation, who would you give the edge out to in this bot side of the map?
In a 3v3 situation, it's really close. It is. I do think that Varus definitely is stronger dueling early on in the game over Sivir, but Xin Zhao, really, really strong early dueling champ. Nocturne obviously can match him in that aspect, where Nocturne has the fear, has really strong dueling as well. I think it would lean a little bit to Glaive, only because Varus does beat Sivir as far as early game DPS and skirmishing. I am a little bit curious whether the Sivir is going to go for the Dark Harvest, more poke, try to play around the poke with Xerath and Sivir and Gangplank. I'm assuming that's what they're going to do, but I have been seeing a lot more of on-hit Sivers popping up. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I mean, technically they already have the poke from Xerath Gangplank, so indexing on that Dark Harvest I think would work because there's so many squishies, but at the same time,
yeah.
How lucky do you feel, and how far ahead do you think you can get if you're, wanting some sort of insurance for a team fight, which I'm sure is inevitably going to break out at some point here. I feel like that lethal tempo might not be a bad pickup here. Instead, as you said, we'll definitely have to see how that pans out. But from the sounds of it, JBL, you don't like Gamers for God's Hope in the early game. You think you're just holding out till, 20 minutes? 30 minutes?
I think maybe you hold out until 25, 30 minutes where Xerath can kind of ult from a screen away and maybe one-shot the Varus or something with a couple items. But, I mean, Glaive have good lanes across the board. They have easy to execute team fights. I don't see how Glaive can lose this game, to be honest.
Fair enough. It certainly looks like a hard ass from Gamers Forgotten. You know what? At least last game, they did play the early game well, relatively well. So there's still hope here. We talked a lot about Gamers Forgotten and what they can do. JBL, Glaive's turn here. I know we said that they have very strong lanes across the board. Where do you think McShoot'em should be looking in the early game when you're kind of spoiled for choice across all your lanes?
Yeah. I think we're not gonna focus top as much this game. Maybe you could exploit the Gangplank a little bit, but I think we definitely want to look towards the mid lane. Xerath, super immobile. I mean, we're just running it back from game one now with win conditions. Xerath can't escape the ganks. We have Nocturne here, and now we have Irelia instead of LeBlanc, but can very similarly kind of dive in and try to set up ganks onto his Xerath, which is, super immobile, hard to escape those ganks. So I think for Glaive, they want to kind of run back how they won game one, their recipe there, and just do it again game two.
Okay, fair enough. You heard it here, folks. JBL thinks Glaive just runs it back. Gamers Forgot, they've just got to hold on, pray for dear life in the early game here, see what they can do. And you know what, Glaive, we said that Giga is a very strong weak side. He's strong side this time, and it's time for him to show us once again. I remember his Yorick performance, and Rumble is one of his specialty picks, so we'll have to see if he's able to do that. And for Gamers for God, practice makes perfect. They've already practiced against this Nocturne dive comp into the mid lane before. Solo opting for the Xerath. We'll have to see. And keep in mind that Solo knew exactly what he was drafting the Xerath into here. So we'll have to see if Solo can do better this time, play a little bit safer. And hey, maybe if Gamers for God comes out okay in the early game, they can try their hand at the mid game once again. But for now, we are going to head off to a short intermission. This one should be shorter than the last as we just get ready to go on the Rift.
Welcome one, welcome all, and welcome back to the Excellency Heavy League quarterfinal match between Glaive, Onyx, and Gamers for God. My name is Finnick, joined on the desk today, as always, by Random Ming and Caster. We are in game number 2. Glaive Onyx taking a convincing game number 1. Let's see if they can make a repeat of it as G4G look for a bit of a spicy invade, but is sniffed out.
They just run right into Tupper there. And on the other side, McShoot'ems and Giga, because they spot out everybody on the bot side, they get to invade freely on the top side here. No vision actually put down just yet here. And Finnick, I am worried.
They're going to try to vert this. Look at the setup. And they've got the Aurelia roaming here too. They're going to try to vert, and Gamers for God doesn't know this is going on right now. As Dumpster tries to make his way in. This is actually a 3v2. McShoot'ems in the bush. He looks for Dumpster. Solo is around though. Tries to get the stun down. Won't be able to find him. McShoot'em's in trouble. He goes down. First blood for Saucy.
Oh my goodness. And they're still looking for Giga as well. No skill yet for Blasi. That's
it. Flash! No.
Ooh, that was close, Finnick. That was real close here. And you said that Gamers for God had no idea. They were divinely inspired, Finnick, because they set Blasi up. No question. We were saying they needed a bit of a miracle in the early game. I don't know if this is enough, but giving your GP first blood, that sounds like a good plan to me.
I mean, once again, if the GP wins the laning phase, then you have lost top lane so hard it is unimaginable. We'll see if Giga is able to come back after that first blood. Going over to Saucy, does not have the Sheen quite yet, but will have an early Sheen in this lane. Junglers, both getting to their clears, both have started on their red buff and are opting towards a full clear style. or a half clear, I should say, on their red side.
Leaving the Krugs, it takes a bit longer to take that one, so a lot of times we do see the junglers leaving that behind in a rush. Bot side though, Blaze is late to lane here because of that roam top, and Josh just got zoned out. It is that Dark Harvest Silver that JVL was hoping for here, so there's a lot of poke ability back, even if you do lose a couple of CS early. The junglers fighting a bit in the jungle though, and Dumpster will be able to safely secure his blue.
So importantly about this Varus as well, it is attack speed Varus, as we have a Hail of Blades. Not the more common of the two attack speed runes of Varus. I still believe Lethal Tempo is more preferred for attack speed Varus, but because it's not Arcane Comment, we know it's not going to be the lethality Varus, so a little bit of a weaker laning presence for Tupper in exchange for a much better late game.
Oh, a lot of times we do see the Hail of Blades being picked up for lethality Varus, also just because the early lane trading, and with those triples, you can do a lot of damage lethal with lethality against squishier targets. So we'll have to see what the first items comes through. Prowler's Claw did get nerfed last patch, 11.12, I believe it was. So might be the Dusk Blade, might be attack speed. Hail of Blade gives you so many options, and they find the hook on the Tupper.
He's fine.
Oh.
Sever doesn't have enough early damage to actually get kill threat on a full health Tupper. And the trade health bars wise actually goes in favor of Glaive Onyx, as Jado was able to make a re-engage happen.
Upside, just a little bit of trading. Saucy actually getting called out of lane once again. And we saw this happen last game, Finnick. This is why they started to fall behind. Josh?
He spell shields, but he still gets stunned up, and easy kill to Jado. You can't do that versus Rel. You just can't. Now Giga's on a Dumpster. McShoot'em's here. Flash forward, gets the flash out of the enemy jungler, and Saucy has to flash as well. McShoot'em's is here. Flamespitter on a Dumpster that's so low, and he finally gets taken down as the fear lands.
This is not going well.
In the mid lane. I mean, he's already got a 15 CS lead over the enemy mid laner. It's going to increase on this wave. This is just coming up Glaive once again in the early game.
And it's just every single lane. This is what we were precisely worried about on the AD, that JVL didn't, he was worried that you've got three weaker lanes. What are you going to do? I still had hopes for Dumpster on this Xin Zhao, right? Like we talked about back, he's an early game jungle player. He likes to get ganks off early, but he already went down, and you don't want to be down as a Xin Zhao. You're already needing kills to stay ahead. They're looking to continue punishing this top side once again.
Dumpster looks for McShoot'ems. Fear should land on a Dumpster, but they decide against following up. Saucy still down to 300 health, as Giga is much healthier at the moment, even without the corrupting potion to his name.
Buffaloes did just go back to base as well here. Picked up the Merc Treads immediately. And that's not something we're used to seeing. Tier 2 boots usually aren't your first completed item. But with that tenacity bonus into a Xerath, already Xerath is going to lose off base stats, right? Your only hope as a Xerath into an Irelia is that either A, you outrange her, which means that you have to make sure the wave is kind of pushing into you, or you kind of have to rely on your CC, on the ability to stun and slow her. With that tenacity though, neither of those are really options for solo anymore.
Indeed, and literally this comp needs to get ahead early, even though you have 3 losing lanes, because otherwise you don't win at any other stage in the game. Which is unfortunate to say, oh man, game's already over with only 1,500 in favor of Glaive Onyx, but Dumpster is behind, and your GP is losing lane to a Rumble, who was also considered a weak side laner.
What am I considered? Look at that. Does that look like a weak side laner to you?
Look, okay, traditionally speaking, Rumble is a weak side laner. Blase, flash fly on a Tupper. Tupper, though, in trouble. No, here comes Jado, gets a knockup as double TP comes in. Tupper down to 150 health. He stays alive just barely as the equalizer comes down, and it's a disaster play for Gamers for God. They get the enemy AD carry, but they lose 3 in return.
Last game, Finnick, when we saw the teleports come down for Gamers for God, they lost so much on other sides of the map.
Look at Puffles.
This time, though,
he's styling on solo right now.
Yeah, that was kind of what was expected. If anything, I'm surprised Puffles didn't actually complete the TP, and it didn't even matter, right? Like, Puffles isn't losing anything because the TP didn't complete. Sure, Saucy's getting a lot, but last game it was Giga getting ahead. This time, Saucy's just playing catch-up, and sure, you get a plate, 160 gold's nice, but does it put you up against a 2-0-2 Rumble here. Those 2 assists might not seem like much, but when Giga was already winning the lane before, extra gold just feels so much more impactful than that little bit of experience.
And it's the Dragon going over to Glaive Onyx, first of the game being the Mountain, next one, the Infernal. Either an Ocean or a Cloud Soul this game. Which one do you prefer? I think the answer is obvious. It's Ocean. You want Ocean.
I actually want Cloud for
really?
The side of Glaive now. Yeah, because of the way their comp works, right? You've got so many big AoE team ultimates. Can you imagine stacking that? Okay, it's only 24 ability haze, so not the end of the world, but that still feels real nice in here. Oh, it's Giga. Are you in trouble here? Still has flash.
Indeed he does, and he's just waiting for the knockup to come out from Dumpster. There's the flash, gets away nicely.
Yeah, and that's no kill pressure now.
Jado
Bot side, great play.
played away. Joshi, level 6 though. Has the on the hunt available, does not need to use it. His equalizer was used top lane to clear the wave and get a push in for Giga.
I'm actually surprised he did that. I mean, you just came back from base. Was that necessary? I guess it's good poke. Oh, McShootums?
Oh no, McShootums down to about 150 health here, but Jado's here, and he gets the honey fruit in time. He stays alive through the ignite, and a snipe from Tupper chunks out everybody. Double kill now, another one to follow up. Oh, okay, so you know when I said like 1,500 gold, like the 5-minute mark, whatever, you know, it feels really bad. I hate to call it. I'm calling it at this point. It's a 3k gold lead at 9 minutes, and they gave McShootums Nocturne again. What do you want? Gamers for God. Your draft. Just ban Nocturne, please.
I mean, to be fair, at least they got first blood. Things weren't looking too bad for them, but right now it is definitely looking quite dire. I think more than the fact that it's the 3k gold lead at 9 minutes, he doubled their gold lead in the span of about 2.5 minutes, Finnick. He's in the jungle right now. Like, that is not your jungle anymore, Dumpster. You only got top side of the map.
He's like, I see Jado with the sweeper, but Jado's not going to play there without his jungler. So I'm not going to risk it. Sure enough, McShootums was around in there. Dumpster and Solo playing over towards this Rift Herald. They might be able to take it and get some plates as they have vision priority in the area. But McShootums is level 6.
With that paranoia there, it's just not safe anymore, and especially for Solo. We spoke about the fact that Solo's already going to struggle against his mobile Irelia, but with the paranoia, it's guaranteed engage as well. Equalizer coming down. Giga looking for the 1v2.
And here comes the 2v2. McShootums forcing the ult out of the Zinzao. He flashes away. Barely stays alive. Should be able to tank up the rest of the equalizer as well. But it is a flash for 2 ultimates, both of which are on relatively low cooldowns at level 6.
Outside a bit of trading as well. Just going to be poking. Finnick, sure. Flash for ultimate favors.
Flash in from Tupper. He gets the Chains of Corruption. Follow comes in onto Blase. He flays away. But Blase, he's got full stacks of the quiver. Unfortunately for Tupper, though, he does not make the arrow hit. Josh is, though, in trouble. Now, oh no, that is a lot of damage. You got the Hail of Blaze proc. Flash. Hook does not hit.
That was so greedy coming through from Blase. You're so low on health. If it hits, is that really a good thing for you? At best, you trade even. Dumpster coming down, though. It's a 3v2, but they're kind of low.
Indeed they are. Make that a 4v2 as Zareth is here. Tupper, though, gets a snipe already to start out the fight. Now it's a 2v2 as Zareth ultimate does nothing. Summoner heal blown. Now on a Dumpster. Dumpster does not have ultimate, but he still gets the kill using the knockup onto the enemy Varus, but he gets traded as well by the Ignite. It's a 2-4-2 in the bottom lane.
2 for 2 in what you called, Finnick, a 4v2 there. The cannon barrage coming down, Solo roaming down, Dumpster. Let's go.
Sorry, did I say 4v2? I meant a 5v2. Because they had cannon barrage, they had cannon barrage and Rite of the Arcane.
They threw everything in the kitchen sink. And to be fair, I actually like it from Gamers for God. Yes, they found only a 2v2, but when you're behind, if you can trade even, it's worth it here. And you do what you need to do. Herald does get dropped in the mid lane, though, by Glaive, and they're able to answer back, find themselves another lead with gold. We're keeping track on it. It's, what is it, a 4,000 gold lead now in favor of Glaive. And, well, you know, just keep making progress.
Every single position is ahead by at least 1,000 gold. Giga is ahead by 1,000 gold. Puffles is ahead by 1,000 gold just on farm. And Tupper's ahead by 1,000 gold. More than 1,000 gold. He's up by 1,800.
Giga's actually not that far ahead. He's barely ahead, actually. He's not even ahead. Saucy's actually been able to equalize that. So, you know what? There is still hope for Gamers for God, and its name is Saucy.
Yes, but also Puffles is off the ground. And unlike last game, where, you know, Giga was just able to run rampant on the Aurelia, now you actually have to deal with the counter split push threat of the Aurelia, or Giga was able to run rampant on the Gangplank uncontested. This Aurelia is actually going to be a threat this game.
Okay, Vidic. Baby steps, baby steps. Gamers for God. Step number 1. I think they need to just don't die. And I'm worried because Blase and Josh look like they might just die here. McShootums is in the
Spell
wings.
shield blown.
But
Jado and
Shadow's waiting
McShootums are
again.
looking for this. Slide against it. Want to move mid lane instead. Looking for the pre-14 tower take from Puffles. Just no kill participation in this game at all, but 35 CS up at the moment.
Yo,
4
do you think
plates.
we see Hullbreaker and Puffles this game? He gets the Giga treatment?
I mean, maybe. Hook lands into the box, but the TP's already here alongside the ult from the
goodness.
Nocturne, and it's an easy 2 kills for Glaive Onyx. And with that port down bot side, they should be able to take this turret as well.
Cannon Barrage came down there, Finnick, and I thought for a second that it was Giga's Cannon Barrage because the damage that came down, it's just like you see members of Gamers for God die.
Also Giga went Night Harvester, by the way. Yeah, this is going to be a burst rumble.
I think Rumbles right now generally go either Night Harvester or Rocket Belt, both kind of bursty.
Okay.
Night Harvester gives you more cooldown reduction, so if anything, we're just going to be seeing more flame here, Finnick. So, yeah, I think in order to match what Glaive is bringing to the table, we've got to be spitting out more flames because this ain't no Rocket Belt. It's Night Harvester. It's more equalizers. It's more fire.
I mean, but you say splitting more flames. I'm not sure, you know, any amount of flame Giga does is going to match what JBL is going to do after this game.
True, fair. Well, I'm curious to see whether JBL would build Night Harvester or Rocket Belt as a mid lane rumble. But as we're, you know, for now, doesn't matter. Gamers for God doesn't have to worry about JBL. They got to worry about Giga. They got to worry about McShootums. Paranoia is almost off cooldown, and McShootums has been using it pretty much off cooldowns. He's got such great lanes. Literally, wherever you are on the map, somebody's in range. Solo roaming up top here, but Giga's spider sense is a tingling. I don't think they actually had vision on Solo's roam. They just knew.
Yeah, and Giga, you know, it's a rumble, right? So you're like, okay, it's a mage, you know, maybe we'll be able to burst him down at some point. Once he gets Zonians, he's basically unkillable, and Dumpster's in trouble. 1v3. Easy kill. Puffles picks up the kill with Vanguard's Edge plus IQ.
Oh,
In comes the Nocturnal. I mean, is it even worth doing play-by-play on this anymore? This is just a slaughter. Solo.
Okay.
Blast comes over. Here comes Jado. Stun up. And Solo goes down. They get the ult out of Joshi, but he gets taken down by Tupper with a snipe.
The feels when the Dark Passage just lines you up to get sniped by the enemy team. It's not even Thresh's fault. Blase tried to go for Gromp here. Any farm at this point is good farm. Doesn't matter who it goes on. Mid lane's getting pushed in as well. Finnick, Gamers forgot. Just one kill, buddies. Just that's all it takes. Find one kill. There's bounties on everyone for Glaive right now.
Let's see. Every single kill.
Oh, not like this.
Oh no, never mind. Dumpster's just dead. This is what it is. The Saucy used the cannon barrage there too. Didn't get any damage off of it. I mean, to say this game was a draft difference, I think, is an understatement. Because Glaive, you know, they lost first blood to the GP. And Saucy's just dead here. Gets a flash out, right? The arcane gets used. Maybe Saucy's not dead. Maybe I spoke a little bit too soon. McShootums pops spell shield. Just to tank up the last shot.
Nick, he's dead inside. He's dead inside.
I mean, he's like, guys, I don't have any deaths. What are you doing? Oh, wait. This 2-0-2 Rumble is ahead of me by 200 gold. Jado going back in now has the stun. I mean, on the plus side, Saucy hasn't died yet this game. That's a plus side, right? This is a better performance on this GP than it was on the set last game.
GP skilling, man. He can come back. Went Divine Sunder. Hey, it's the Divine Sunder is great because it skills off your enemies, right? So all that's happening right now is just that, Gamers for God is letting Glaive get a hit so they can pad Saucy's damage. That's all they're doing here. Finnick, they have a bigger problem, and I think they have to start looking at game 3 here, and there's a big drop issue. It's not even the Nocturne here. I think they forgot something. If you're gonna let the Rumble is just a hard counter to Dumpster. It doesn't even need to be in the jungle. But if you let Rumble into the game, Dumpster's just a flaming Dumpster.
Here's the thing. I don't think it's just the Nocturne or like whatever. It's okay. Vanguard's Edge, cool, whatever. You picked Sivir and Xerath, and I know that some certain people on the draft were trying to hold back about these picks. These are just terrible picks. At this high a rank, I mean, comfort is something still. There's something to be said about comfort, but neither of these champions are good right now. At all. And you counterpicked yourself in the mid lane.
Yeah, Saucy, is he gonna die here? He's currently deathless.
It's a 1v3. Never mind, it's a 3v3. In comes the Paranoia. Bots used, fly as well, but McShoonum's on a rampage. First death of the game for Saucy as Tupper goes on a killing spree on the enemy Thresh. I mean, this isn't going to be a sub-20 game, but this is going to be sub-25 at least.
I think the only reason why it's not sub 20 is because Baron didn't spawn. To be fair, like as good as the comp is at diving and doing a whole bunch of stuff here, it's still a little bit difficult to siege. You're relying solely on Tupper, who has the Duskblade. But we're only, 19 minutes in. The Mana Mune has not converted to a Mirror Mana, despite 6 kills, 7 assists. It still, takes a little bit of time, and Tupper is actually struggling to get those tier stacks because people are running away. And when's the last time we saw Tupper get involved in a fight?
When he died solo in the jungle.
True. I can't remember.
Second Herald goes over to Glaive Onyx.
Maybe they break the base with this. And then they try for sub 20.
Perhaps they do. Pupples in my air, though. He gets a nice flawless wet into the Magnus Storm onto 2 members. It's a 3v4, but it's already taken down into a 3v3. Tupper on a rampage. It's a 3v2 now. Blase goes down. 3v1.
Awesome.
And a double kill for Tupper, unable to make the snipe connect onto Joshi. That was a 3v4. Equalizer. Joshi's dead. Saucy gets poked out by the arrow, and you just gotta give the ace over.
Oh, but Giga
Stopwatch for good luck from Giga. That's just... this is the type of playoffs start that Glaive wants, right? They want to get ahead because they had a couple of rough last couple of weeks, right? Even though they beat AoE, it was far from convincing. McShoonum's though in trouble. Maybe Dumpster is able to trade something back onto him alongside Jado, but here comes the Paranoia just to get away from the right of the Arcane, and he finally gets taken down, but it's a trade of junglers as Jado flashes away from the Xerath Q, finally hooked up and taken down by the Xerath W. It's a 1 for 2. Gamers for God have a little bit of life in them, but I believe that was just an overextension from Glaive.
But that's still 2 huge bounties going down, 2 solo there. The Xerath starting to come online, and hey, for all that we rag solo Xerath in lane, out of lane in these fights, he's pumping out damage here. If they can get him actually set up and get the poke down, maybe they can start finding some kills. Solo fired that right off the Arcane, blind because of the Paranoia, and still landed most of it.
He's half an item behind the Aurelia, though.
Only half an item.
And the Aurelia is still going to be able to dive him in a fight. The only reason that fight, that solo got those kills was because McShoonums and Jado were just alone, and they didn't have backup. If one more member of their team was there, I think that fight goes the way of Glaive.
Finnick. Oh, ye of little faith, buddy. Gamers for God, man. God is on their side. And you know what? Okay. Faith Age, man. You're obviously not a fan of Counter Logic Gaming. They can come back from this. It's winnable. Maybe.
I'm actually a Pobelter fan. Believe it or not. This year he's playing absolute garbage. And I hate to admit that.
Come back, Israel. You need to get kills on Josh, that's all.
Look, I work with Steve Kangas from time to time. No. Blase goes golden. Cannon Barrage used as well. They got the play out. McShoot'em so dives into the backline immediately. Spell Shield comes out from the enemy AD carry, and it's already a 2-for-1, but McShoot'em goes down now. Dumpster on to Jado. Jado in trouble, but he's able to stay alive as Saucy gets a flash Q in, but now caught up by the Vanguard's edge. He goes triple kill for Giga, and it's a 4-4-2 in favor of Glaive. They might just end this one here.
Wait, Solo's getting away.
You know, I predicted a 23-minute game, by the way. I would just like to point out. I predicted a 23-minute game when we were at the 18-minute mark, and that's exactly what we're going to get here. Maybe
3 seconds, they're backing off, Finnick.
Oh, man, come on, Glaive, you're trolling me. You're trolling me here. Give me my time prediction. All right, they still got another minute and a half to do that. But, you know, they can peel off and go to Baron. It's uncontested. They can peel off and be like, oh, yeah, Ocean Dragon spawning. It's Ocean Salt for us. Uncontested. This is just utter domination from Glaive Onyx, and there is nothing Gamers for God seems like they're able to do at all against this Glaive squad.
Last fight. That's what they've got in the tank here. Finnick, they can just charge in, look for that last fight. No right of the arcane means no poke. There's a lot of bushes, and Solo's been positioning really well in these last couple of fights. As I say that, though, he's not in the greatest of positions right now. Where is Giga? No teleport coming from base, and Puffles is on the flank.
Indeed he is, and he does not have the Vanguard's edge, but he just needs a flawless duet to get things started. A nice poke Q comes out from the enemy Varus as here comes the equalizer. Joshi should just die here. He pops the on the hunt, but here comes McShoot'ems in with the paranoia. It's 2-for-1, 2-for-0, I should say. Dumpster, the next one to fall. Oh, he goes golden just for good measure. Now it's 3-4-0. Blase, next one to fall. GG's. Glaive Esports go up 2-0. And they look unstoppable this series.
Pretty much. I mean, it's a clean ace. You know, Super's already in the base. They're just going to finish this one off. And, well, Finnick, I guess, you know, this one kind of went exactly how we expected it to go in the draft here. Gamers for God definitely looking like they're having some draft difficulties. And I'll give them credit, at least. They did change up quite a bit between game 1 and game 2. So we might expect something on game 3. And you know what? If you're the religious type, I believe, you know, Jesus died, took 3 days for him to come back in. So, you know, maybe Gamers for God just needed 3 games to really get things on. Game 3 is about to come out, and you know what? I'm going to keep holding out hope for them.
I like to call myself a little bit more of a realist here. They need to... they literally need a miracle to come back from Glaive, because the mental toll from getting stumped like that 2 games in a row is enormous. And it's really hard to keep mental fortitude. It's really hard to even look like you're coming back in, but it looks like they've gone mental boom. And I'm going to be honest, I don't think even with a better draft, Gamers for God has a chance in this game 3, but that's for the analysts, you and JVL, to decide. Analyst Desk, take it away.
Okay, JVL, buddy, I know when we saw the Sivir come through, you didn't want to talk about it. Do you feel like talking about it now after watching that game?
I think there's a lot to talk about, and there's also nothing to talk about, because, I mean, with the way that the draft went, it just panned out exactly as we predicted. I mean, there was no winning lanes for Gamers for God. Every lane was behind in CS early. They got the first blood from the weird, like, level 1 invade kind of the Glaive was trying to do, but there was no win condition for Gamers for God, and it just came to fruition. Glaive played their comp the way that it needed to be played, and they just completely took over the game. Gamers for God need a miracle. They need a massive swing here, in both draft and in game, for them to come back.
Yeah. One bright point I felt like for Gamers for God was at least Solo started to come online. Granted, the laning phase was kind of rough, but he wasn't giving up quite as many kills this time, at least. And the Xerath looked, I can't call it clean, but it looked better once he got out of lane there. Was able to pump out quite a bit of damage. I believe in our third game of the evening where Gamers for God have their backs up against the wall, they're going to be blue side here. So they get first pick. Game 1, they pry out the Ezreal here. I'm going to take a wild stab, JVL, and say that you want them to pick that Nocturne first.
If they're not planning on first picking the Nocturne, then please ban the Nocturne in first rotation. I mean, if you look at the comps that Glaive has ran to, they're Nocturne comps. They're Nocturne diving in, and then other people following up, whether it's the Rel, whether it's the Galio, Rumble, whatever it is. The Nocturne is the main focal point around these comps. Maybe if you take out the Nocturne, Glaive, they're not as comfortable playing around other types of comps. Maybe they only know how to play the dive. They don't know how to play the front to back as well, or whatever it may be. So, I mean,
yeah. So I